there too.
Yep, you're good, and I'll just go live in the active market. Okay, we'll wait for it to go live and have it catch up to everybody on LinkedIn here. I like your new font and your new setup and everything, Matt, on your page.
That's my millennials influence. I've
looks
got
good.
3 25 or 27 to 40-year-olds that are taking me over, and it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
I didn't realize how far back in the 19th century I still was.
It looked great. We saw it. It looked really good on the report, and we'll kind of show that at the end. We'll bring that header up, and we'll bring your new web address up so people see it. I see how you changed that, so people have a little bit better idea of
how to get it. I just sent a link to Jory.
Gotcha. Yep, Jory got it. Talk to Nick, so we'll make sure we've got it. I've got my T-shirt on from. We're doing the link. We're doing a live for 5 minutes or 10 minutes every morning now at 10 o'clock Central to go through the whole live market to kind of show people.
How's that going?
Second day today. So yesterday we just it was our first kind of our maiden voyage of that. So it went a little longer than I wanted to, but now we've got it down to about 5 minutes where we could just kind of. It'll get better with time, like anything, right? Just kind of showing people.
Are they making trades? You're actually making trades, or just kind of showing them how to walk through?
So we're starting out kind of showing how to walk through, but we're going to eventually move to live trades on the platform. We're going to kind of introduce people to it, and then kind of walk and then kind of step into it a little bit more, if that makes sense. Because a lot of people that are seeing this aren't even on the platform. We're kind of showing them some numbers, right?
And it can be a little intimidating when you're used to it. It's so easy just to. I've got a couple of people that I've introduced to the site, and they just said, "Well, I just got a deal yesterday." A guy said, "You save $500,000 on a multifamily package just on the sheathing, just on 3 items of sheathing. Saves $500,000 just waiting for 1 week." And he bought it from the broker. Just called back and cut the price 50%.
Yeah.
He didn't even shop it on the exchange. I mean, not that it was not a good number, but he thought, well, give somebody else a shot. Just you don't know what's out there.
So let's see, we got enough people starting to stream in, Matt. So we'll start it up here. So welcome to the Materials Exchange MX Lumber channel. It's Lunch with Lumbermen with Matt from Layman's Lumber Guide, Matt Layman. And at the end of this, we're going to show you some of the new highlights of his guide that he's added to it with some new contact information. So Matt, we were kind of segueing in talking about this a little bit before we started. It's pretty crazy in the market. The panel market kind of went like this, went to a straight dive yesterday.
Yeah.
I heard some of the big international houses were offering OSB at just crazy numbers to all over the Midwest, and really they're just trying to make something happen, right? So let's bring up your first chart and talk a little bit about by the way, let's if you are on the platform new or are coming back from somewhere else, please enter your name on the side, say hello, say where you're from. If you got any questions for Matt and I during this, we'll do our best to answer them, fabricate an answer, or say we'll get back to you later. We're both really good at doing that.
It'll sound adequate and real, though.
Yeah, like I said, it could be pure frontier gibberish, but we'll make it sound really good. All right, so hi from Sweden, Chris. Chris, hi from Sweden. How are you? Hope everything is going well. Jeff, Cape Cod, Mass. Thank you for being on, Jeff. I saw Jeff listed some panel products today. I want to highlight some of those too. Pretty cool, Jeff. Glad you're on using us. So let's bring up Matt's first chart and take a look at that. Matt, what's we're going to just stick with one of the charts, looking at everything today. The composite here. What's your feeling on this? Where are we coming from on a market update?
Well, we're at a place where the market it's at a price where everybody likes the price. Lumber prices are not the objective right now, and the market's just sitting here. It's fallen off 2/3 from where it was from its high. I'm looking at the chart. You're never going to see anything like this. Looking back for 50 years, you won't see a chart that looks like this ever, and probably never again. It's just been the perfect storm of everything that could possibly happen. But we're at a place where the activity is good. Everybody's been, you can tell there for the 3 weeks in a row, the market's just kind of bottoming out. It's trying to figure out what it wants to do, which indicates to us that the buyers are active. They're filling in. but the mills just can't seem to get rid of that excessive inventory that just keeps coming at them. The buyers are, every buyer I talk to each week, they're getting more and more filled up and less ability to keep buying, because what they've got is sold, but it's just getting backed up at the builder site from windows and appliances and sheetrock and carpet and everything but lumber seems to be holding home prices. I mean,
yeah, that's just true. It's true. You basically said replacement for everything. Everything's short. You know, you go to restaurants right now, and we were at a restaurant in Detroit last week, and half the tables were empty, and we asked, well, it's like 8:30 or 9 at night, and the guy's like, that's a half an hour. We're like, a half an hour? Well, can we sit down? And they're like, we don't have enough servers, right? So everything's in short supply, right? Labor everywhere.
You know what's weird about it? It's everything in every place all over the world. So today, in my lumber PhD class, this topic is going to be the overlooked obvious. And if you just look around and just see like how can we be short burger flippers in Singapore? You know, how can you be short appliances when all over the world, when we've been looking for them for 6, 8, 9 months now? It's to me, the overlooked obvious is that the population has grown, the world population has grown to a point where there's not enough supply for the demand of absolutely everything that the consumers want to have. And
yeah, that's true. We also have these, my own opinion, these microbursts of little economic pushes and pulls everywhere, because everybody has decided to keep everything in certain warehouses and just in time and ninja black belt tactics for buying and selling. So all of a sudden, when everybody pulls in the same direction, it creates what we just saw, right?
Yeah. It seems to be building again this time around. The thing that's different about this market, where we sit right now, than where we were back at right before that big spike up there, like week number 8, 10, where it started to level out, and then we got that big spike up, pushed to the all-time highs. The difference in this market today than where we were in March of last year is so many more people want to hoard inventory. They want to build lumber inventory, and there are people that have never done it before. I've got new multifamily customers that have never bought lumber before, and now that they found out they can buy it through the exchange or buy it direct or whatever, they're finding these empty warehouses and just packing it full of lumber. And
it's called the shadow inventory, that everybody in history that has tracked always the regular players, those guys are buying a bunch of stuff and other people are, so they have a harder time tracking it sometimes.
Well, here's the overlooked obvious thing about that. If you're a wholesale distributor and you're counting on just-in-time buyers to come and buy lumber from you, and because their builders are kind of just buying it as they need it, and they're buying it because their developer has said, well, here's what the time frame is, we're going to need it. And then you look around and you realize the developer has already started to buy wood and put wood in place. And the danger of it is we're going to have, this market's going to be more than double bought at some point, because everybody's going to be buying for the same jobs. And you're going to realize that the developer the turnkey framer has already bought for packages that aren't even broken ground yet. And so I think if we get a big spike up in the market right here, that's going to be a real troubling signal that the market's getting overbought by people that haven't bought the market before, and we're going to be in a tremendous position for a crash.
So look, the markets always do what hurts the most amount of people the most, and exactly the opposite everybody thinks. So me not having a position now, I can have an opinion, but what I saw over the last 2 months, month and a half, you had the market falling, and a couple times along the way, everybody said it was a good buying opportunity. Good buying opportunity, because this, because that. Yeah, I understood some of the facts and figures on it, but the point was it was hard to build as fast as we want to build, right? So the reason it went to $1,700, $1,800, because people built inventory and probably built more than they're normally used to. When the price fell, Some people are able to get rid of it. You can try and average down, but there's a difference between speed and velocity, right? The speed and the velocity of how we dropped was 2 months drop, 6 months up. You can't lower your cost fast enough. So you have a whole bunch of people. The question that comes to me all the time on email, phone calls, text, why aren't we seeing the end use get the same relief pricing that the wholesaler mill side is getting? And I made a comment the other day in Fortune magazine. I go, people lower prices when they have to, and right now they don't have to. And one of the big buyers at a big place that won't be named called my buddy Mike and said that I was an idiot saying that. And it's a fact that people only lower prices when they have to, right? So I think everybody really thought, because we all felt this, there was a bounce coming. There was a bounce coming, and the price was going to come back and let people liquidate those higher price things, even as they average down. And I'm beginning to get that feeling markets never turn until people get out of high price positions. And maybe that's what we're seeing a little bit of right now. What say you, Matt, on it?
I use a thing called inventory shift is what I watch. It's like the market. Think of the lumber market as a big basket of lumber that's swinging on a pendulum. And when that pendulum swings and the inventory is in the hands of the mills, and the market's very weak, then that indicates that the lumber's not in the hands of the suppliers, which is the people between the builders and the mills, and they're low on inventory. And that's what makes the market turn and go back up. So regardless of what the price is, the inventory got heavy into the hands of the producers. Market prices got weak. Now inventory shifting back into the hands of suppliers, but the prices are just kind of leveling off. And to me, that's an indicator that the market is at the very least, adequately, if not overproduced. And like you just said a little while ago, the only reason prices went up the first half of the year was speculative inventory building. You're just outbuying the demand and saying it's pre-sold or whatever it is, but we just outkicked our coverage. You got way ahead of ourselves, and now you look at that graph right there where prices plummeted. Building didn't stop. Builders were still going balls to the wall, and new projects were coming out. The only thing that was missing in that slide right there was the DIY market, and that's just because they're planning on vacations and going on vacations, and they weren't locked in at home as much as they had been in the past, and they're out moving around a little more. But that's starting to come back a little bit too.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, I think we've seen people trying to mitigate their inventory at this point. Business is still good, right? Business is still really good. Matter of fact, absolutely. I had a guy from Illinois, big truss guy, and he also has a framing crew of over 500 people. He said he's shipping trusses from Illinois 500 miles into Ohio because they're so busy in Ohio on trusses that they can't produce them over there. He's never shipped trusses that far. When stuff backs up here, and people want all his labor everywhere because his labor is such an unbelievable commodity right now. Like the market wants to build more, but we just physically can't in some cases. Now, with that said, I am seeing some of the froth come out of some of the numbers I'm seeing in the houses. The amount over that a house is listed for and selling for is starting to come down. The days on the market of homes is starting to go out. It's still slight, but that's what you kind of see, right? So right. Everybody can talk about demographics and how much we have to build for the age of the inventory. I've heard this for 20 years in the business. The same reasons why, right? Markets go back to Econ 101. Supply always finds a way to catch up with demand at some point. It just does in a commodity, and I guess that's the law of supply and demand. And I think it's
interesting how this year, all of a sudden in 2020, analysts have recognized and stated and declared that housing market is underbuilt because we've been underbuilding for a decade. How all of a sudden did we determine, like right now, why didn't we notice this at 9 years ago, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, 5 years ago, that we were underbuilding for housing demand? And I think that's a bogus kind of argument. We built what the market wanted. We didn't build based on what population was. If people wanted to buy rather than rent, there would have been a bigger demand for housing. We would have been in 1.5 million or 1.3 million. We would have been 1.7 million. So just because we're here right now doesn't mean we've been behind the curve for 10 years and we got to catch it up all of a sudden.
What did that famous investor say? The four most dangerous words in the language are "it's different this time."
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, let's talk a little bit more about some other things. He talked about private land ownership, timber hoarding due to low prices. What is it? What do you mean on that one?
Well, yeah, we watched this year, especially in the South, the price of timber was, I'm going to blanket and call it $350 per hectare, or whatever, however you figure it. But the price of timber in the South didn't budge, didn't go up at all, while the price of lumber tripled. And those guys, about 80% of the land, the timber that's owned in the South, is owned by private landowners. They don't have to sell that timber. And most of that timber is owned by REITs or by third, fourth generation people that's just been handed down from grandpa to grandpa, and now the people own it, and all they do is pay taxes on it and clear cut it or burn it off or get the underbrush out so it keeps growing. But they don't have to sell that timber at $300 and lose money on it. The assumption is because the timber's there that it's going to always be available at a certain price. But you get to, even if you wanted to sell it, and we got lumber mills coming on that are needing to buy more timber, and the dynamic could change completely with the timber owners saying like, well, we got another 2 billion board feet of southern pine production coming on. I think I'll just hang on to mine and try to make timber tight. There's a lot of things can happen. Like the short supply we talk about all the short supply of everything there is in the country. There's what's to say there's not going to be a short supply of replacement parts for sawmills or forklifts or trucks, or we're just kind of overlooking all the things that could affect the supply or just the availability of lumber. And right now we're all sitting fat and sassy because prices are cheap and there appears to be plenty of it, but there's no guarantee that supply is going to continue to stay like it is, especially like with the wildfires. And if mills don't have to make lumber either. They don't have to sell lumber at a loss, especially after having a year like they've had this year. They've got plenty of money. The mills could sit back and do nothing for the next 2 or 3 months and still have a big fat year.
There's a cost of shutting a mill down, and generally when you make that, mills are made to actually make lumber, right? So the cost of shutting down. But I am surprised where we went to some of these things, and man, these fires are real out west, right? And they're too bad. And I hope that hopefully get some rain soon and everything goes well. But I really thought the price I didn't think the price would fall like this with all that going on, but it shows kind of what the general public thinks. One thing that you see right now too is basis is working, right? We all sat there for a week and a half wondering why the CME basis was such a premium to the spot basis. Well, now in the last 3 days, we've seen the basis has come in, right?
Yeah, futures realizes cash isn't coming after it.
Yeah, exactly. So let's real quick, since we've gone 20 minutes, let's switch over to our MX Live platform and take a look at some of the things that we have up here today. And I'll share that with you. Can you see that okay, Matt?
Yeah.
So a couple items that we have up. I loaded this before we started, and I enlarged the screen so we can see it. Let me make sure we're seeing everything on here. It's only showing the pine for me right now for some reason. There we go. So if we go into Atlanta on trucks, you can see there's different Southern Pine prompt prices, the sell price. These are Atlanta 2x4, 2x6, number 3, 2x6, number 4. And some of this may be coming from a long ways and some may be close. So that's the difference in the pricing. 2x6, all 8, number 2. Here's some good items down there. This 2x4, number 4, Southern Yellow Pine, I think is paper wrapped and it's good stuff. So if you're an industrial person and want a good number 4 product, here's 16 footers delivered 402 Atlanta. Southern Pine, 2x6, number 3. Here's some number 1 products in pine. Here's 2x6, all 8s, number 1, 371, or number 2. 2x4 16s, number one, 536 Atlanta, 2x10. And again, these are the offers. You can come in and make a price. I just had a guy call me a little bit ago on Euro. Let's go down and look at some of that.
Hey, Ash, I was going to point out something that people can do also, so you can find out what's being offered. You can sort those by ask column.
Absolutely. You should,
or even
certainly
quantity, and you can see that there's larger volumes being offered, but you can sort by ask, so you can find out what's priced if it's not into your area.
So everybody that's come on here, this 2x4 Euro SPF prompt, the prompt 16 footers at 626. A guy called me and said he's waiting for people to put bids because he's got 10 to 15 trucks behind that, and he wants to move this. So he's looking for offers. 2x6 12 footers. There's about 10 to 15 trucks behind this. He wants offers on that. And there's 2x4 12 footers. Also, he's got about 10 to 20 trucks behind that sitting that he wants offers on. So what I'm saying is there's a lot behind here. You come on here, these prices are moving around all day long. And if all you do is look at the price and lean against this to get a better price from your current seller, we think eventually it'll migrate everybody over to the screen. So these are a few of the items that are listed. There's a ton of Euro on here. I think we had over 200 trucks and some stuff today. Let's look over on some panel products and see if I can get up there on the panel products. I've got to shrink this down a bit since I can't see it. There we go. Panels.
About buying strategies here too, Ash.
Yeah.
There's, you're not gonna see the best offer that the seller has to offer. You're going to see the wish price and hope they can find some sucker that's going to buy it, or somebody that's in a desperate spot because they're still thinking they could find somebody that needs a truck of OSB or a truck of studs in a hurry, so they got it priced up there for the best offer. But if you're out there, if you're a buyer and you're trading around, you know what the fair market value is in your location. So put an offer up on the exchange that's going to make it worth your while. Make it $25-$50 less to see how aggressive some of these sellers are, just because you don't know if you don't ask.
So I saw a guy from Iowa on the call. Thanks for being on from Iowa. And it looks like you have a pellet location. If you got on here, you can look at all of this number 3, number 4, Southern Yellow Pine, and all the different low grades, Southern Pine and other items, Spruce, Economy, SPF Economy. This is to Chicago. So you can get this live pricing to your location in Iowa all day long. And if you just sign on and look at this, it's a pretty good deal. So let's click over. Let's go back to the live studio here. I want to talk about, it looks a little funky. So what I wanted to talk about here is Materials Exchange has a live conference October 27th through the 29th. It's a Wednesday through Friday in Chicago. And Matt and I are going to put on a little one-day event for buyers and sellers and kind of show them the advantage you can have in the market by knowing more. So one thing that I've noticed, here's the feedback I get, Matt, on why buyers and sellers sometimes don't bid and offer stuff themselves, not only in the analog market, but on a digital screen, is they're afraid to. And they're afraid to for a couple reasons. Nobody's ever taught them how to buy and sell lumber, and they're stuck in this position. So you know what they do? They outsource it to different groups to do it for them, and I call it exporting their own fear of not knowing how to do something to groups that they actually give all their power to, and they give money to, because nobody does anything in life for free. So what we're going to do is kind of help, and Matt's been doing this, and I sometimes take for granted for doing this for 30 years that everybody should know how to do it, but I have these conversations with people and show how to bid and offer. So a couple things that we're going to highlight just talking about in that meeting are, what's the first responsibility of a buyer is don't run out of lumber, right? And the first responsibility of a seller of lumber is to make sure they produce it every day to get rid of it, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that. These are just 5 I keyed on, Matt. We could talk about some more types of sellers and buyers, right? And how to treat each one differently. There's mills that you talk to. There's wholesale distributors. There's pure wholesalers. There's stocking distributors. There's regional distributors. There's national distributors. There's all kinds of different buyers and sellers out there. Then buyers, there's trust locations. You need to know if you're selling a trust location, is that person also doing other things? There's retail independent buyers, there's retail corporate buyers, there's industrial buyers, there's all kinds of buyers all over the place, and they all act differently. So how do all these buyers and sellers then take all of that knowledge and move it over to a digital platform and bid and ask? We'll kind of show you at this Frontiers conference coming up. So we're going to show you how to take a verbal bid and export that fear and put it into a market digitally, right? We'll also talk about understanding the phrases and lingo. I always say, be aware of the influencers and the trained hypnotists in the industry. There's some people that are just good at selling. And when they get you on the phone, you may not think you're going to buy. And next thing, you've just given them all of your orders for that week without actually knowing what you really did, because they're that good at doing it. I've seen them. I've been involved with them.
And they made your job easy.
Yes.
All they got to do is just be a little bit less expensive next time around, or a little bit quicker with the shipment, and go like,
yeah,
you guys are really treating me good. And then, but you don't know because you're not giving anybody else an opportunity or taking the opportunity.
They ask you if you got that big gift basket they just sent. They're going to come up, take you to a nice dinner, and how's your mother? And next thing you know, you've given them 50 orders and you don't even know what you've just done. So we're going to kind of show you what are the signs of what are the signs people do? How are they soft closing you all the time? And how can you eliminate all that by getting onto a digital platform and exporting all of that digital or all that analog conversation to digital banner? Why should you be afraid or even think about it when you put a 10-lot bid, which is to buy in the market, and you put it into the digital atmosphere, right? And 1,000 people see it. That's the easiest way to do it, and that's the way to do it. Don't get as many human beings involved, because they'll shape shift you into whatever they want, right? They're good at it.
You know, we've talked for decades about this business is about relationships, and that's probably one of the most dangerous things that you can get into. The most costly thing you can do is getting into a relationship that you depend on and trusting that relationship to be the first and best opportunity for you all the time. Because I was a broker, and as a seller, my job was to convince on every conversation, to convince the buyer on the other end that why he should buy from me right now, why my product was the best. And if I want you to wait, that if I were to buy somebody to wait, I said, wait. But wait until you hear from me. Not wait until you hear the price, but wait until you hear from me again to tell you when the correct time to buy is. And the buyer's mentality is they're there to sell you something, and you're there to buy it at the best price. But they're just to get buyers are there to, and sellers are there to get you to get an order that minute, that day.
Yeah, you watch Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, or any of that stuff. It's all about, hey, if you're asking somebody for one, ask them for all of it. Ask them for 20. If you're asking for one truck, ask them for their next 50 cars. Own the relationship. That's what people want to do, and that gets dangerous, right? So the other one is best results in a conversation always come from knowledge, right? Greg Riley always trained me, and this is the way to do it in TED Block. When you're on a phone call, if you're a good buyer and a good seller, and it's hard to be both. When you're both, you're a trader, right? Right. But as a buyer, you should know on a call what you can do, what you should do. If somebody offers you something, a lot of times what happens is sellers will offer you something not thinking you're going to get it, just to kind of put it out there. And you need to know if that's a good price and to buy it right there. Most of the best buys and best calls can be done on the actual call or exchange digitally that you're currently at, right? And to be a good buyer or seller, you need to know what's a good offer every day when you're on the phone. Saying I'll call you back or can I get back to you? You've just lost 85% of the chance of getting that good buy or good sell.
Yeah, that's where the good buys come from. The buyers, when you pick up the phone for an inquiry, you need to know what are you willing to pay and how much of it are you willing to buy all the time.
Right.
You know, when you get a random phone call or you make a random phone call, just be ready to pull the trigger on anything all the time.
So what we're going to talk about is how to do a lot of that digitally and create more efficiencies and be able to have more relationships. Hey, what's better than actually putting a bid into the market or an offer into the market where everybody can see it and you can see the feedback from everybody and not just the 3 people that bring you fly fishing every year, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So look at that. We're kind of up against our half an hour, Matt, but I wanted to show basically, it's actually Greg Blumberg from Iowa. He's from Kendrick Forest Products, a hardwood mill in Iowa. He wanted to know, I'm not sure if I understand this question. Has there been a re-entry by pellet manufacturers back into softwood cans? Do you know? I don't know enough about the pellet market, Matt, to make a comment.
I don't know either, but I would say not, because there just hasn't been still not a lot of product available, number 3 and number 4, and I don't know that it's, other than southern yellow pine, and I don't know exactly what's used, and maybe some poplar or whatever you use, but it seems like that a lot of low grade number 4, probably especially number 4, number 3 southern pine has been sought after, but it's not necessarily all that available. So I don't know if there's a big shift back away from hardwood into softwood just because of the availability.
And like my dad used to always say, Kant never did anything. All right, so let's bring up Matt's website and kind of show his new look here. We'll kind of show him some a way to get a hold of Matt, because I know your URL changed a little bit too. So there's your new site, Matt. See if I can suck that in a little bit. No, it's laymansguide.com. So you changed that.
Yeah. It's the first time I've had .com available since I started the business. Somebody was just sitting on the URL and just hoarding it, but I finally got it available. I've been .net, .info, .org, and now .com to stick. And so we've kind of revamped the look a little bit. So the contact information is matt@laymansguide.com and laymansguide.com for the website. And what you're going to find when you get to the website, and Jory told us not to be shamelessly plugging ourselves today, but what you're going to find is you can't buy Layman's Lumber Guide just off the shelf. You have to take a 2-month trial, because I want to make sure that it fits for you. You like it, it works for you. I want you to make money off of it before you buy it. And so I invite you to just check it out and see what you think about it.
That's great, Matt. So Matt, we'll be back next Thursday, and I'll be on again at 10 o'clock Central tomorrow to go over the live market update. We suggest you come to mxlumber.com. materialsexchange.com, hit the register button, and we'll get you on buying and selling lumber and looking at transparency, and at least have the information so you can go back to the person taking you fly fishing that you may have a better option than the one they've been doing for you for 35 years. So thanks for coming. We'll restream this, and we'll have the link available if you want to watch the whole thing on YouTube, on the Materials Exchange YouTube channel. Or on our Materials Exchange LinkedIn channel. We look forward to, we appreciate, know your time is valuable, and thank you very much for coming along.
See you guys. Have a good day.
All right.